Want to hear something really stupid? Well, Activision turned down Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park, and Saving Private Ryan, from directing a Call of Duty movie. Yeah, that happened this week, along with the announcements of Marvel Rivals Season 4 and a new DCU movie. Welcome to this week's Nerd Roundup, hosted by the Nerd Factory. I'm Jake. Let's catch you up. Yep. That happened. Director Steven Spielberg, one of the most famous and adored directors in the history of film, pitched a Call of Duty movie to Activision, and they turned it down. Why? Well, apparently it's because Spielberg wanted full control of the film, so they wanted control of the edit, how the story, etc. So full control, as I said. Puck News reported that Spielberg is actually a huge gamer and is a massive Call of Duty fan and plays it all the time, apparently. But Activision got spooked and sold the rights to the film, and also a TV series, apparently, to Paramount, where Activision would have a little bit more control over their IP. I get it. I understand, because obviously brand security is important, and keeping in line with your standards, although with Call of Duty in a minute, let's be real, those standards aren't very high. This is going to be one of the most insane rejections I've ever seen, especially as it's Steven Spielberg. Like, could you imagine a war movie by Steven Spielberg? Oh wait, yes you can. It's called Saving Private Ryan. And it's one of the most brutally honest war movies ever made. And it blows my mind that they were like, yeah, here's Steven Spielberg, one of the coolest war films ever created in the history of film, and they went, nah, we're good. All because they want to have a little bit more control. But hopefully what they're doing with Paramount will be worth it in the end, and it'll still be something cool. But man, I wish we lived in a timeline where Spielberg was making a Call of Duty movie, because if it was anything like Saving Private Ryan, we were in for a treat, I swear. Season 4 of Marvel Rivals is set to release on September 12th. An announcement trailer was released showing the story for the season, along with two new characters, Angela, who will release the same day on the 12th, and Daredevil, who will release midway in season 4.5, which I think is the October 10th? I think you'll see in a sec. Along with the said trailer, a roadmap was also released for the new season, titled Heart of the Dragon. The roadmap, as shown, has a few things which I'm really looking forward to, especially with the new Battle Pass, because normally all the skins in the Battle Pass are sublime. But there is also a Moon Knight mech skin, which I didn't know I needed until I saw it. I don't know if it's going to take over the MCU skin that I'm using for Moon Knight currently, but it's very cool. More swimsuit skins are coming out, which apparently everyone in the Fantastic Four but Reed is getting a swimsuit. I guess Reed's just in his lab doing lab stuff, I guess. There's also going to be a new map releasing on September 26th as well. Season 4.5 is starting on October 10th. This is why I should write better in the script, and maybe I'll not have to guess. Which is probably where Daredevil is going to be released. Let's be real. It was also announced that Marvel Rivals is coming to PS4, which I thought we stopped doing that. I thought that was a thing that everyone agreed on, that we should just leave the previous generation behind, but apparently not. The original base PS4 will run the game at 30 FPS at 1080p, and the PS4 Pro will be able to play at 60 at 1440p, which I am surprised it will be able to do. But I won't be surprised if the game looks terrible to be able to run at that level. But hopefully, I hope if they've decided to do it, I hope it doesn't hinder the game as a whole, because I'd hate to have a version of the game that is hindering the rest of the players that already exist. But I'm glad that people can obviously play the game if they haven't moved to the new consoles, because the new consoles are still really expensive. And they keep going up in price for some reason. Why? But it's also quite interesting. They haven't done one for the Xbox One brand of consoles, which I don't know if that's in their plans or they're just kind of ignoring that console, considering the Xbox One line of consoles, apart from the One X, just are nowhere near to the PS4's equivalents. So maybe people on Xbox One consoles, you might get a version at some point. Maybe they're doing this one, and then in a couple of seasons' time, you might also get a version. Who knows? They might even bring it to Switch. Switch 2 might be able to run it if they're putting on a PS4. That'd be cool. For competitive players, it was also announced that placement matches are finally coming after Season 4. It has been a big plea for players that play ranked, including me, because, God, there's been so many issues when going into a game and I'm like in gold, still trying to grind up my rank, and then I'm playing someone that's very obviously not a gold player and is probably platinum, diamond, and higher. And it's just like, oh, this is cool. This is real fun. I love playing against a person that's 25-0. So I'm very happy that they're doing that, I guess. I'm also very happy at the buffs and nerfs coming this season as well. Invisible Woman, who is my main, Thor, Blade, Moon Knight, also another one of my mains, and Scarlet Witch, just to name a few, are being buffed, while Emma Frost, Captain America, Squirrel Girl, thank God, Black Panther, Psylocke, Loki, and Luna Snow, also thank God, are getting nerfs. If you want to see exactly what's happening to these characters, there'll be a link in the description with all the lists of what's happening to each, because there's a lot of stuff and a lot of characters that I haven't even listed in the buffs category, and all of the stuff that's happening. I'll list it in the description if you want to read. Remember back in the first Nerd Roundup where I talked about the Superman saga? Well, we got our first confirmation of a film in that saga, mainly because I'm not sure if Supergirl's still included. However, James Gunn tweeted on the 3rd of September this image, along with the caption, "Man of Tomorrow in theaters July 9th, 2027. And this was later followed by David Cornsweet and Nicholas Hoult, who play Superman and Lex Luthor respectively, tweeting their own images featuring art from Jim Lee, George Jimenez, and Mitch Gerardis. I'm butchering those names, I'm sorry. This is also a name I'm going to butcher. Isabella Merst. God, I need to learn how to say these names before I do this. Also announced that she will reprise her role as Hawk Girl on Instagram with this following image. James Gunn also confirmed that Lois Lane will have an important role within the film, meaning Rachel Brosnan is also set to return, which is to no one's surprise. It's kind of nuts how James Gunn is able to do as much stuff as he's doing. Because he did Superman, and then also did Peacemaker, and then while doing those things was also writing the script, which he's now finished apparently, and he's now editing and tweaking and stuff to make it as perfect as it can be, while doing the other things, which is insane to me. But I like the way that it's kind of starting out in a similar way how the MCU kind of started, where you had obviously you had Iron Man, you had Incredible Hulk, you had the Captain America movie, the Thor movie, and then obviously we ended up with Avengers, which I'm assuming is the goal at some point. But there's still a lot of build. We still don't have Batman, we still don't have Wonder Woman yet. We currently only have, as it stands, Superman. Lanterns is coming out at some point, so obviously we're getting the Green Lantern side, but there's still quite a lot of characters that have still not been introduced yet. So I still think it's at least half a decade off, or maybe even more, before we even get a Justice League mention. But I am very excited, and I hope that James Gunn can continue his standard, because he is probably my favorite director of all time. By far. He is an absolute genius, and I'm glad that DC recognizes that. Now you're caught up? I'm still trying to get my head around Activision's decision, because I really think they've messed up big time with not having Spielberg direct their movie. Because the IP of Call of Duty and the brand name, just the name of Spielberg alone, people, even if they've never heard of Call of Duty, would watch that film. But I guess it is what it is. But as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, as you'll be getting a Nerd Roundup every Monday at 6 PM UK time. Even though I'm still recording this at 3 o'clock on that Monday. So this is going out in 3 hours, and I'm still not finished it yet. If you got any suggestions on what you'd like to see or anything you want to say, put it in the comments below, and I'll try and respond. But other than that, see you next week.